is given over. If you want people to think that that's the true champion, there has to be an SEC team in it. Because every single person listening to this show knows, A, the SEC is the best conference. B, Alabama and Georgia are two of the three best teams in the country. So if you want that championship to be legitimate and you don't want us to look at it like it's a joke, there has to be at least one SEC team in it. If there's not, it won't be the real champion. Period. End of story.
I think I think legitimacy is real. Yeah, I think if you put, especially Matt, you could put Alabama at 4 and say the Michigan team that's been the most polarizing, controversial team in the entire country, you got to go and beat them. Like if you want to punish Michigan, make them play Alabama. Like if they have to get through them in order to get into the championship game. But again, I don't know that this committee is thinking the way that we're thinking on any of this, about entertainment value, about competition. I think they're following a formula. I'm going to give you two other guys on this committee. Right? I'm telling you who's on this committee so people understand. There's a dude named Chad Gladchuck. He's the director of athletics for the U.S. Naval Academy. I don't think he has Twitter, Matt. I don't think he's thinking about entertainment value. I'm going to give you another guy on this committee, Jim Grobe. Now, Jim Grobe was a head coach at multiple places around the country. Now, there's a little slot on the website that says current occupation. So most of these guys have different jobs. They've gone into business, finance.
That's crazy
whatever.
to me, by the way. It's crazy to me you would bring people in who are not working in sports now. But go ahead.
But you know what Jim Groves, you know what his says about current occupation? Retired. That's his current occupation. Jim Grove is just a retired football coach who only thinks about football now that he's a member of the committee. Twitter is deceptive. And you always tell me this. Twitter doesn't represent
deceptive, but
the country.
For me, this is not about Twitter. I don't care what people on Twitter say. That is not it. I'm just saying to you, I watch football. You watch football. Every single person watching this game, listening to us, watches football. None of you, if you look in the mirror, not one of you people listening thinks Florida State is better than Alabama. No one does. If Mike Norvell was actually put to a lie detector and he would say, is your team better than Alabama? They would say no. No one believes that. So that should, Myron, matter. It should matter who's better.
But you started this whole conversation at the beginning of the show by saying, I'm a lawyer, right? And as a lawyer, you have to be able to defend these decisions.
As a lawyer, the first thing you do, Myron, is look at the law. The law here, the college football playoff has one paragraph that says what they're trying to do. And the first sentence says, we are trying to put together the 4 best teams. If that's the law, and that's what I'm trying to do, there is no argument that Florida State is one of the best 4 teams.
If that's completely detached from the rest of their job, I'm with you. But they also have always rewarded an undefeated Power 5 champion. I'm not saying they'll do that. I think Alabama and Texas should get in. But if you keep Florida State out, you have to have an argument more than Alabama beat Georgia. It's too bad you get left out. You have to have an argument that the ACC isn't strong enough.
They aren't. Carl is in South Carolina. You got 40 seconds, Carl. Go.
Less than that.
But I'm from Ohio, and we always hear about this, the SEC. We're not talking about how Alabama barely beats Arkansas, who's a 4-win team. They barely beat Auburn on a last-second 99.9% chance. They barely beat Auburn. They barely beat Texas A&M, who had a coach fired and wins 5 games. So Alabama,
all of those teams would play Florida State to the buzzer and probably beat them. That's my view.
It's a fair point.
All those teams would take Florida State to the buzzer. We'll take more of your calls. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's Countdown to Kickoff on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming on Monday, I'll give you my thoughts from Week 13 in the NFL and tell you who will win the national championship game. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
If If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installation with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. If you've been injured and need a lawyer right now, do you know who you really get?
I'm attorney Jennifer Lackey. You want to talk to your lawyer. My clients talk to me.
And me. I'm attorney Justin Lackey. We're the ones that you talk to.
And we're the ones who handle your personal injury case.
And we'll take care of it.
The Lackey Law Firm. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Alabama, Georgia. It's the SEC Championship live from Atlanta, Georgia.
Snap to Milroe. Jada look. He's got Miller wide open. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Pass is going to be caught by Bond at the 15-yard line. What a catch for a first down. Jalen looking. Plenty of time. Firing left side. It is juggled. It is caught. Touchdown. Misdirection. Balls on the deck. Scrambling for it. Bama came out with it. Trisman Marshall recovers the fumble. Jalen getting the snap, taking the knee, and what do you say, folks? Let's get out of here. Bama, a winner over the Georgia Bulldogs, claiming the SEC title for the 30th time in school history. Keep us out. I dare you.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Ed Bankin. Well, the wait is just about over. We are moments away from learning who will be in the college football playoffs. There are a host of nervous college football teams across the country as the selection committee will select its 4 playoff participants. Alabama's win over Georgia has thrown plenty of uncertainty into the process, with Georgia, Alabama, and Texas having 1 loss, Michigan, Florida State, and Washington all unbeaten. You can hear the selection show coming up in a few moments on ESPN Radio, and you can also watch it on ESPN and ESPNU. Meanwhile, Houston has hired former Tulane head coach Willie Fritz to fill their coaching vacancy. To the NFL, where the 13th Sunday of the season is upon us. One of the early games will be in New Orleans. The Saints host the Lions. Detroit is coming off a home loss on Thanksgiving to Green Bay, but head coach Dan Campbell says there's no panic.
Being able to stay consistent and just stay calm, stay poised in the moment. I think that's what we've done a really good job of. We don't ride the roller coaster on the road, which is the most important thing, man.
The inactives are out for the early games. The Saints will have receiver Chris Olave and defensive end Cam Jordan available for that game against the Lions. They are both active. Also active is Texans wideout Tank Dell. He will play in today's critical AFC matchup against the Broncos. Chargers receiver Keenan Allen is active despite dealing with a quad injury. He will play against the Patriots today. And the Jets will have their backfield available for their home game against the Falcons. Running backs Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook are active, and ESPN's Adam Schefter reports free agent linebacker Shaquille Leonard and tight end Zach Ertz may soon sign with teams as early as in the next 48 hours.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. They're close, convenient, and have the parts you need fast, along with excellent customer service from professional parts people you can trust. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to the Bama Recap Show, presented by Freedom Marine Center. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Drew DeArmond and Steve Moulton.
Alabama, Georgia. It's the SEC Championship live from Atlanta, Georgia.
Snap to Milroe. Jada look. He's got Miller wide open. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. Pass is going to be caught by Vine at the 15-yard line. What a catch for a first down. Jada look. Plenty of time. Firing left side. It is juggled. It is caught. Touchdown. Misdirection. Ball's on the deck. Scrambling for it. Bama came out with it. Trisman Marshall recovers the fumble. Jalen getting the snap, taking the knee, and what do you say, folks? Let's get out of here. Bama, a winner over the Georgia Bulldogs, claiming the SEC title for the 30th time in school history. Keep us out. I dare you.
The Alabama Crimson Tide, the 2023 SEC champions.
For the second week in a row, Alabama is a winner by 3 points. Welcome into the Bama Recap Show presented by Freedom Marine Center. And I had more than one media member tell me during the game, during halftime, during postgame, that was the national championship game. How are you, Drew DeArmond?
I'm good, and I agree with you. I said it on the show all week on Talking Ball. I said it on your show. I said it on several that I was on during the week. This is the two best teams in the country.
Yeah.
They fought it out yesterday. It almost went exactly to script like I thought it would. I mean, I can't predict, how the plays that are going to be made, but I'm just saying as far as it being a fight to the bitter end, I picked 27-23 and ended up being 27-24. Georgia never quit. I was very impressed with Carson Beck. He processes really well. He's very accurate. He's not a great athlete, but he doesn't have to be in what they do. Brock Bowers, to me, again, I when Herschel Walker was playing, I was less than 10 years old, so I was not watching college football at the time. I understand Herschel is the greatest player in the history of Georgia football, but of the players that I've seen in my lifetime and that I've been able to watch in person and on television, Brock Bowers is the best football player that I've ever seen put on a Georgia uniform. He was 70 to 75% yesterday, still making plays. The play he made late, the catch on the fingertips, normal people do not do that. He made it look extremely easy.
One underrated player that doesn't get talked nearly enough about is Hines Ward.
No, I loved Hines.
Yeah.
He was my favorite.
But I am not disagreeing with what you're saying.
He was my favorite dog until Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
I was always a Hines Ward fan. The toughness he played with, what he did at Georgia. I think he's a Hall of Fame player. I think he should be in Canton, Ohio. I think Brock Bowers will be in Canton, Ohio one day. I think he should be a top 5 pick. I don't give a damn what people say about tight ends and being drafted this high and all this. He's a great football player. But Alabama, the tougher team won, the better team won.
So just to let you know, and by the way, voting during a game is bananas to wrap your head around anyway.
Right.
But I had to submit my vote with about 3 minutes to go, and my Georgia vote was Carson Beck.
Yeah.
My Bama vote was Trez Marshall, and I thought Marshall played a fantastic game.
Well, I'll just say this, and I posted it this morning on X. is that in 2 years ago when we were at the national championship game in Indianapolis, Alabama had some guys that didn't step up when they needed to help Alabama close out Georgia in the fourth quarter. Georgia dominated the fourth quarter. Georgia won the game.
Yeah.
Injuries had a lot to do with that. Injuries had something to do with yesterday.
No question.
But that's football.
Yeah.
I've said it repeatedly. Again, Georgia's got the championship. It's never going to change. They won 2 in a row. They'd won 29 in a row. But yesterday, Alabama had some guys step up. Kool-Aid McKinstry went out with a concussion late in the first half. I thought Trey Amos played amazing football. I thought he locked it down on that side. He nearly had a couple of interceptions. I gave him a game ball without a doubt. I gave one to Trez. He was in on a big, third down stop that forced a punt early where he shot the gap against the run. He had the fumble recovery where you had to outfight the guy. You had to outfight the offensive lineman for Georgia. That was a huge play because it allowed Alabama to at least add 3 points.
Yeah.
I thought Trez was in the right place at the right time. And then my other two guys that were unsung, I knew early in the week Jace McClellan wasn't playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I thought Roydell Williams did a great job stepping
Sure
in.
did.
He did everything that Jace does. And then I thought Jam Miller, I thought stepped up huge too.
Sure
he had the
did.
wheel route touchdown. He made some tough yards. There was a third and short where a second and third effort got it. It looked like Georgia was going to stop him, but he runs behind his pads. He runs like a 240-pound back, even though he's only about 205. So I thought that he did a great job, and I thought that was the key. Alabama had some guys step up, and Georgia had guys playing hurt. I mean, I commend Ladd McConkey. I think he's a dog. I think he's going to play in the NFL for a while. And, of course, everybody, you know what I just said about Brock Bowers. Those guys sucked it up and played. I admire them. But I just felt like Alabama – I had this feeling that for the whole game week that Alabama was the better team. And they were going to step up and show it.
Went up to, Buck Buchanan.
Buck Baloo.
Buck Baloo.
Buck Baloo.
Goodness gracious.
Right.
I'm going on very little sleep, ladies and gentlemen. But I went up to Buck at halftime, and I said it feels like this game should be a wider margin. I really thought Bama should have been leading by more at halftime. And they were the better team, the superior team. I said it all week that I thought Bama was going to win, but that missed field goal as well for Georgia, that played a role in it as well, but kudos to the Crimson Tide. Seriously.
I mean, Kirby mentioned it in the post game. The false start. It cost them 5 yards and probably cost them the field goal.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that happens.
But I mean, Bama had a drop touchdown as well. So I mean, there was points all over the place.
And then I know you're probably talking about Burton, but in my opinion, this was not one of Milroe's better games.
I didn't think so either. That's why I didn't vote for him.
Because I would have voted for him because the
last two drives.
Yeah, that's what mattered.
Yeah.
He stepped up when. That's why I would have voted for him.
I've submitted my vote before the last two drives.
I know. That's stupid. Just stupid. Just let people vote after the game. Just don't. That's Biden stuff. But anyway, all I'll say is here's the thing. I thought Milroe's ball placement wasn't great. Okay, he was underthrowing.
Behind
because Burton had Burton deep. He drew the pass interference, but that would have been a touchdown with a good throw. And then if he throws it to the corner of the end zone on the one that you're talking about that people thought was a drop, it's a touchdown. Yeah. The ball placement wasn't great. Okay, and then I didn't think he ran enough in the first half. All the sacks I thought were on Milroe. He was going backwards.
1,000%.
He should have been rolling out of the pocket. I thought the O-line did a really nice job. Now, to Georgia's credit, I thought they did a good job defensively in the second half, taking away the inside zone and doing a better job between the tackles, stopping the run. But at the end of the game, and this is when you earn your money, Milroe, I just talked about that, Tommy Rees and what they did offensively was really smart. Tyler Watts, who is a spectacular color analyst, let me just tell you, he is a natural.
Yeah.
He and others pointed out a great thing. That outside run that they called for Milroe, they hadn't shown that all game long.
It was an empty backfield, and I remember looking, I said to two guys that we know well that were sitting next to me, they're going empty? They're going empty.
Yeah, and they slanted it outside because Georgia was thinking it was going to be just a power.
Yeah.
And then Milroe made the very intelligent decision to slide down. Don't run out of bounds.
That was great. That was smart.
And one of my frustrating moments of the first half when they were inside the 10, and really I guess it was I take that back. I really think it was It may have been that possession after the fumble in the third quarter. I thought Milroe, they called a quarterback keep. It was basically a zone read, or really just student.
That was a quarterback.
It was student body right.
Yeah.
He ran it in a straight line out of bounds.
Yeah.
He should have cut it up, took on the defender, and got what he could. And he might even have scored.
Yeah.
Well, on the last first down that clinched it, he did do that. He cut up. He squared his shoulders up, and he took the guy on. Now, nearly fumbled. He did fumble, but he recovered it, and it got the first down. Once he got that first down, the game was over because Georgia only had one timeout with about 1 minute and 17 seconds. You run one play, and then Roydell holds on to the ball, and then all you got to do is take a knee. And they just took a knee to end the game. So I thought Milroe stepped up in the clutch. And then, of course, Bond. Isaiah Bond.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that I know I didn't get a chance to hear the broadcast, but I'll tell you, at least from where I was sitting, the break on that catch in the first half from Bond, he was inside the hash marks and went out beyond the numbers. That was, I know they were talking about whether or not it should have been reviewed. I thought it was a fantastic athletic play. It
was a catch, man. The ball never moved. It was easily a catch. I couldn't believe that CBS was harping about it at halftime, that it should have at least been reviewed. I thought that was because McConkey made a similar catch.
He did.
And even on that deep ball, the 51-yarder, they even reviewed it.
Yeah.
And both of those were catches. I had no problem with it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, again, I just felt like that should not even have been a topic of conversation. He made a great play, and you have to make plays like that in a game against an opponent of that caliber to win.
We're about to go to ESPN for the reveal. What do you think is going to happen?
I've already gone on record. During the week, I thought Oregon would beat Washington. So my Final Four was going to be, and I thought Louisville would beat Florida State.
Yeah.
I said it would be Michigan #1, Oregon #2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. I'm only deviating a little bit because Washington stepped up, beat Oregon for the second time. Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4. I know Florida State won, but you can just tell without Jordan Travis, they are not a top 4 team.
It was a hard watch.
I mean, and injuries matter.
Yeah.
Conference matters too because they played Louisville in the championship game, who Kentucky drilled in Louisville, and Alabama went to Kentucky and blew Kentucky off the field and had their backups in the third quarter. I'm sorry. It's just like the NCAA tournament when you're trying to evaluate teams to be in the top 68. 10 years ago, the SEC was basically Kentucky and Florida, or 15 years ago, Kentucky, Florida. That's it. Nobody else was considered good enough, even if they won 22 games, Steve, because the league wasn't good enough. ACC is not good enough. If it's just based on deserving of a 13-0 team, then why isn't Liberty in the conversation? They went 13-0. People are saying that SMU should go into a Big 6 bowl over them because of schedule strength. Schedule matters. Playing Texas matters, okay? If Alabama and Texas had played different teams and been 13-0 and all these teams were 13-0, they both get in over Florida State.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. You know what I'm saying? And then, or if Alabama and Texas didn't play each other, and you're holding Alabama and Texas next to one another, and they had not played one another, where you have the Texas getting the benefit of the doubt because the head-to-head. If it's just Alabama and Texas, then Alabama's in over Texas. But the head-to-head matters.
There is a common opponent between Florida State and Alabama, and that's LSU. And I have no doubt that this committee looked hard at that LSU game.
But Jordan Travis isn't playing.
I'm just going off of what we know from the College Football Playoff Committee. If there is a common opponent, and there is, in LSU, I think that is going to be an evaluator in this game. I would love to see. We're a year away from this thing going 12 teams anyway. I would personally love to see Florida State play host to Alabama next Saturday night as a play-in game for the right to be the 4 seed to play Michigan, and probably in the Rose Bowl. But, I mean, I'm trying to make sense here. I want to reward teams for being undefeated, especially Power 5. And we have seen a college football team win one with a third-string quarterback. We saw that in 2014.
Yeah, but they won a conference championship game 55-0. They didn't win 16-6 against a Louisville Junior College. Okay, give me a break there.
But I mean, are you on board? Would you be on board with Florida State playing host Alabama next Saturday?
Of course, if they let it happen.
Yeah.
If they want, I'll be Mel Gibson. You want your shot at the title? Come on.
I would. I think it would be fantastic. Is it going to happen?
Alabama would burn their house down.
I don't know if it's going to happen, but
just like they got rid of Dirt Neck back in 2017.
But I do know this, that the national championship game, it really did feel like was played yesterday in Atlanta.
And I'll say that, too. These are two of the best four, man.
Yeah.
It's just that,
yeah.
But unfortunately, there's enough good teams with enough cases where Georgia's not going to get in.
No.
I mean, I can even make a case for Ohio State, but I just think the Big Ten is not as good as the SEC.
I don't think so
The two
either.
best leagues this year are the SEC and the Pac-12. The Pac-12 had a renaissance this year. They were good enough, okay? They haven't been in the past, but they have been this year. Okay.
Yeah.
And to me, if you're ranking all these Power 5 leagues and all this stuff, I just think it's the SEC and then the Pac-12. I think because I just think Georgia and Alabama carry a ton of weight, and I'm hoping that with this committee, I know they've been evaluating throughout the season, but they hadn't seen Alabama beat Georgia yet, and they should have watched that game and realized what a high-level game it was. And I mean, I'm hoping that they'll have enough common sense to understand that. Then I would probably go with the third best league. I would say it's probably the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Just a shade over the Big 12, and then far and away down here in the gopher hole is the ACC.
Yeah.
You know, and
bad.
It's just not good, man. It's not good enough. You can't tell me that eye test doesn't matter, man. This is not the four most deserving teams. It's the four best teams.
Yeah, yeah.
That is what a playoff is. And if they're within one game of each other, that's the way it should be evaluated.
Here we go. The reveal is not quite yet upon us because there is a whole lot of drama finally here on a reveal Sunday. It was fun to be a part of it yesterday. And Coach Saban told us about a dance that he does in the postgame, and I did ask Coach whether or not he would do the dance. He said no. So, but I did ask him about Trey Amos.
I heard that.
And
Steve, if you had gotten him to get up and do a dance,
so when I said that question, so when I said the question, both Dallas Turner, and I was sitting in the front row, both Dallas Turner and Jalen Milroe were looking at me saying, "Is he going to dance? Is he going to dance?"
Man.
But he didn't dance. But here is what Jalen Milroe had to say post game.
Georgia number one, right? You beat the number one team. What do they consider us? What does that consider us? But at the end of the day, you know, that's out of our reach. But the biggest thing we got to do is trust the process, keep getting better. But we beat the best team in the nation considerably. So, what do y'all consider us?
Front. Coach Saban, two questions, if I could. Can we see the dance, one? And two, the play of Trey Amos and the opportunity that he had.
Yeah, well, he's been playing for us all year. Trey's been playing in dime all year long, and we consider him a starter. When we move Terry on to start and play him on third down, and he's done a really good job, and he did a really good job tonight. So he's been playing for us all year, but we have a lot of confidence in him, and you know, he did a really good job tonight. So, and I can't remember two questions
dance.
at a time.
Can we see the dance?
No. Bad. It's bad. I mean, ask them. It's bad.
That is a little bit of the post game there that I had a chance to be a part of in Atlanta. Honestly, a little behind-the-scenes action, so they split off the press conferences. Bama was one side, Georgia was on the other side. This just in case you don't know, I spent a couple of years covering the Georgia program back in the 90s. I still know quite a few of the reporters, and so they started following me. And we got to the Bama room, and I looked at them and said, "What are you doing over here?" And they said, "Well, this is where both press conferences are going to be." And I said, "No, this is where the Alabama press conference is going to be." So, anyway, congratulations to the Crimson Tide. Tell you what, rather than screening phone calls, I'm just going to plug you right through, and we're going to do this. We'll do it live. 256-576-4977. Good morning. Welcome into the Bama Recap Show. Who's this?
Hey, this is Brandon. Is this ESPN 1400?
That's fantastic. That was an old school reference. So I was there about 20 years ago.
Indicator.
And I went up to Chuck, actually, and I said, Chuck, I haven't been at WWTM for 20 years. And he just started laughing and said it popped up on his screen. And I said, I didn't type it in that way, but nonetheless, I appreciate you going there, Brandon. How are you this morning?
Man, I'm 30 feet up on a freaking ladder hanging icicle lights out here. Please my wife. Things you do in life. Hope to God my disability insurance holds.
I guess you've got AirPods then.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah. I'm out here having a grand old time. But, no, we had really good seats last night to the game. And I hope they never put both bands in the the field ever again. Oh, my God, that was awful.
They were in the same corner. Although I don't know if CBS there was this kid that they kept showing during the game wearing a Bama jersey, wearing a Bama 18, and the crowd would just go nuts every single time they showed this little kid.
Wow.
I thought it was great for him.
Oh, yeah, the game was great. I felt like that the offensive line went out there and really established themselves. I think it's one of the best games they played all year. Really was into it. I got a lot of Georgia friends that feel like the referees won the game for us. Got a couple of friends that do not seem to feel that way at all. They just said they felt like they didn't play their best game. I kind of wonder, and I hope me and Drew will survive being friends on this. I think that they're going to put Florida State in to prove a point because they're mad at the SEC. And I do think Alabama is one of the best teams. The criteria moves all the time. Is it deserving? Is it best? Is it what is it? I don't know. But if they do put Florida State in over Alabama and they don't go, I'm not going to pitch a fit. But they are basically giving Michigan a national title if they do that. Because they're going to play them in the first round, and they are going to murder their brains out. It is going to be run, 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 run. They might not throw 10 passes in that whole game.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be a total mismatch. I totally agree. I've already said that on the show.
Hey, Brandon, I'll put you on hold right here. The reveal is about to occur. Let's hand things over to ESPN Radio.
We assume that will put them in New Orleans. And while Washington's the second seed and will wear the home jerseys, that's going to be somewhat of an advantage from a crowd standpoint for Texas, one would think, if that is indeed how the semifinals are matched up and the sites that they have. So we have Michigan, Washington, Texas. As we said right off the top, you've got these one spot left, and you've got 4 teams with resumes. Texas now has made it into the field. Let's have a look at these remaining resumes. 3 teams, 1 spot. Alabama, Georgia, Florida State. Kirk, how should this come out in your judgment?
Alabama should be at 4.
Alabama should be at 4.
The injuries to Florida State is just, you can't avoid it. It's nothing against what they accomplished. Obviously, what they accomplished is extraordinary, to be undefeated, be an ACC champion. But that injury to Jordan Travis is part of what the committee takes into consideration. If you're looking at Alabama versus Florida State, under the current team and roster, it'd be very, very hard to imagine Alabama not being there at 4.
We go back to the rankings in the unveil. Let's look now at number 6 and see who's been eliminated and see what the final decision came down to. Who's number 6? The Georgia Bulldogs. So after consecutive national championships, Georgia will not compete in the playoff, and this is also the first time that the team that was number 1 in the penultimate rankings has fallen completely out of the college football playoff field. So this leaves us with the decision that everyone thought we would end up having. Florida State or Alabama. 1 spot. Whoever's 4 plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4? And Alabama returns to the playoff, and so we have another unprecedented situation as Florida State winds up at number 5.
There you go. The Alabama Crimson Tide are indeed number 4 and will more than likely head to the Rose Bowl to take on the Michigan Wolverines. So your top 4, Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4, and Florida State, the first team outside looking in. I think we can all say the committee got it right. Our apologies to the undefeated Seminoles.
Congratulations to Florida State. I think they're going to play Georgia in the bowl game. They'll have a chance to prove themselves with their backup quarterback against the Dogs. I like the Dogs heavy, but it doesn't take away from what FSU accomplished, 13-0. But let's be honest, they are not a Power 5 conference this year as far as strength goes. Anybody can watch that league and understand they ain't playing, as Dusty Rhodes would say, with the big boys, okay? They ain't coming to the pay window and playing with the big boys, and they're not, okay? Because, again, like I said, Louisville made the finals of the ACC, lost at home to Kentucky, who's a 7-5 team, and Alabama went to Lexington and burned their house down.
Give me an early point line of what you think of first. Let's go Washington, Texas, and then Michigan, Alabama. What do you think the point line's going to be there?
Longhorns by 4.
Yeah.
Alabama, Michigan, Alabama by 3 is what I'm going with there. I think they're going to be both very close point spreads. I think Alabama will be playing in the Rose Bowl against Michigan on a neutral field. Michigan's a very good football team, very well-coached team, hard-nosed team. But I think it's a good matchup for Alabama. And Alabama right now, if I were the Tide, I wouldn't care who I was playing.
Yeah, you're in.
Just line me up.
You're in.
And let me prove that I'm the best team. So, again, I think these are the 4 best teams right now. Now, I do think Georgia, I'll just go ahead and say it. Georgia is better than Michigan. Georgia is better than Washington.
Yeah.
I think the 3 best teams in the country that I've watched is Alabama, Georgia, and Texas. And then I would say probably after that, then Washington, and then Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan's probably the 5th best team to me. Now, they're going to get to prove it to me against Alabama. I think they're a good football team, but they're not explosive. They're very physical, and they're very good on defense, and they'll get a chance to prove it. But, again, I think they deserve to be in the playoff. I don't have a problem with that. But again, I think because they're they're 13-0 and from the Big Ten, and they have been ranked in the top 5 all year. But I'll just say this was one of those really weird years because I'll be honest with you, I think Florida State should have been 6th. I think Georgia should have been 5th. But again, it's just one of those years where they could have really used this expanded playoff because there was a lot of good teams.
I was really hoping they would do a +1 just for this year.
But again, I just think overall, I think Alabama and Georgia are the 2 best teams. But I knew this year, my prediction was correct. I didn't think one league would get 2 teams, and there was just too many teams with a shot, including from the weak sauce ACC. But Florida State got left out. I apologize, to them. I admire Mike Norvell. What he's done has been stunning the last 2 years. But again, losing Jordan Travis matters, and playing in a conference that doesn't challenge you matters.
Yeah.
And they did beat LSU, but LSU is, 3rd or 4th, 5th in the SEC, okay? And I'm sorry, that's just the truth. They may have the Heisman Trophy winner, but they're not that good a football team. And so they were not in the mix for the playoff. Alabama and Texas should be rewarded for playing each other and stepping up early in the season and going mano a mano. These are 2 of the 4 best teams in the country, in my opinion. And so I think they deserve to be there. Georgia's the only one I wish they could find a way.
That they knew, especially after the game yesterday, they knew how weak their schedule was, especially on the guys that covered that covered Georgia. They knew that was a play-in game, despite the fact that 29-0. But nonetheless, you chose to take out the Oklahoma game and plug in a weaker opponent. You could have played that on a neutral site and increased your resume. You didn't, paid the price. And I think Georgia's just kind of sleeping in the bed that they made. But yesterday was a great game to watch. Let's head back to ESPN just for a little bit of reflection. It's Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Alabama 4.
Florida State's 55th. I totally get what you're saying. It's absolutely heartbreaking and devastating for them. The ACC has a winning record against the SEC this year, 6-4. 2 non-conference games for Florida State this year against the SEC, and they won both of them. I get it. But they're a different team, and this has been your point, Joey.
Yes, that has been my point. And so I feel awful for Florida State and Jordan Travis, because if he was still playing, this would be a different conversation. Everything you speak of was accomplished with Jordan Travis as their quarterback.
They won the last 2 games without him, though.
Yes, and that's when we saw this team with Tate Rodemaker
and Brock
Glenn.
Yes.
55 yards passing last night, it wasn't pretty. Here's the thing, Boog, and honestly, I hear everything you're saying. If our goal is to have the 4 best teams, there's nothing to do with what you deserve. There's nowhere in the bylaws that say you have to be undefeated. There's nowhere in the bylaws that say if you're in a Power 5 conference, you're the champion undefeated, you get in. I feel terrible. But when we look at this Florida State team and what they are today, what they were last night, what Alabama, who lost to Texas, who was the 3rd team in this thing, what they were then and what they are now. This Alabama team is different, and you know this. And this Florida State team is different, and you know this. They lost their quarterback. It's not a receiver. If Worthy doesn't play for Texas, they're still a really good football team. When you lose your quarterback, that is different than any other position in any other sport on earth.
That's a little bit of Joey Galloway on his thoughts. Incidentally, it's the Bama Recap Show presented by Freedom Marine Center. Brandon, are you still with us, sir?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't fall off the ladder, did you?
God, no, but I tried one time. I really did.
If you're on hold, we will get to you, okay? All right? We're obviously extending our first segment here for obvious reasons. A big thank you to Freedom Marine Center for being our presenting sponsor.
Well, I think they made the right choice. If Travis had still been playing and they'd left
much tougher, because they might have beaten Louisville like 45-6, and they would have had more style points. But it is what it is.
Okay. Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, I wouldn't have been really mad if they would. I'd have been a little unhappy, but I wouldn't have been just like freaked out if they would have left us out and let Florida State just went and got just splattered. I mean, Michigan probably would have threw the ball 4 times in the entire game against them. It'd have been Josh Pate doing that rerun of run, pass interference that he did that I thought was so funny. But I think on a neutral field, if Jalen Milroe knows how to run and when to run against Michigan, then we're going to put it on them. And I mean that. I won't be there. I'll be in Colorado up in the mountains trying to not die skiing for the first time.
Ooh.
But, yeah, I'm going to try that this year.
Don't break your leg now. Come on now.
I may make well, hopefully I don't pull a Sonny Bono, but I'll
wow.
Yeah, I may make the national championship game if we get there, but I do agree with you that Milroe wasn't in sync in that first half last night.
Yeah.
And there were many first downs he left on that field that he could have ran for. But if they can work with him and just show him, hey, when you see this, it's time to go. It is time to run. Don't think about it. Just put your foot down and go. And I feel like if he can do that, what he could have done against Georgia, if he can do that against Michigan, I think we can beat them by 2.5 touchdowns.
Well, it's still going to be a tough game. I mean, Alabama's got to sack up. I mean, Michigan's going to challenge them. They've got to be able to stop the run. And I thought that was the key against Georgia because I was very impressed, again, with Carson Beck. But I thought Alabama, I think it was officially 31 carries for 78 yards. They stopped the run. Early, it didn't look good, but they ended up hammering, and Kirby even admitted it. And he was, I think he was very disturbed by the fact that Alabama on short yardage stuffed Georgia. Because he even said in the press conference, we were ready to go for it if it was 4th and 1 or less, but we couldn't even we were making negative yards.
Yep.
Alabama was stuffing the run, and they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to take away Corum. Michigan at their core, this is what they are. They're a physical team that's going to run the ball. Well, you've got to stop the run. You've got to be able to tackle, okay? And if you can't hold up in the box, as Saban likes to say, if you can't, get off a block and you can't stop the run, you're dead. And so, and Georgia was in a lot of trouble at halftime, but they made adjustments. And I have a lot of respect for their program. I know I give Kirby hell and everything like that, but I do have great respect for their program and how they play, okay, and the way they look. And they are very talented. And when you beat a team like that, you earned it, okay? And I think they've done a great job recruiting. I think they've done a great job developing. And as I said, there are 2 football players in the SEC that in the last 20 years that I wish had played at the University of Alabama that I admire incessantly, and I would wear their jerseys. And that's Tim Tebow and Brock Bowers, because I think they're that good. I think they transcend the game. Now, Tebow didn't go on to have a great NFL career. I think Bowers will. They play different positions.
Yeah.
But they're both made of the same cloth. And one of my favorite moments after the game was Tyler Booker coming on the stage just to meet Tim Tebow, because Tim Tebow is 110% authentic person. He is a great person, he stands for all the right things. There's not a fake bone in his body. And I think he's actually a media member that is unbiased. And I think he does his job, unlike several of these clowns that I was getting into it on Twitter with last night.
Brandon, I appreciate the phone call. We need to get to some other phone calls, and there's no doubt we'll hear from you.
Hey, somebody buy Danny Cannell a drink for me. That would be epic for me.
256-576-4977. Appreciate you calling in to the Bama Recap Show. Who's this? Hello.
I don't want to buy Danny Cannell. I don't want to buy Danny Cannell a drink. I want to buy him a motherboard and upload material.
Ray Dog. Ray Dog.
What up?
I think the committee got it right. Like you, it's really unfortunate because probably any other year of the last 12 years, Florida State gets in this thing, but it's very 2004. It's not like this is unprecedented, where a team's undefeated, a conference champion, and can't get a sniff at the trophy.
Yeah.
So, I really think the committee has set this up with the desperate hope that they get Texas, Alabama for the trophy.
Could very well happen in Houston on a Monday night in January.
Because I think that's not only is it good for the sport, it's going to be good for television ratings for when they renegotiate.
You know who it would be really good for? ESPN and ABC and the SEC.
Poor CBS.
I mean, it is kind of, if it does end up being Bama, Texas, I mean, welcome to future SEC versus SEC.
And I'm going to say this, and I want Drew, if I'm way out of left field, just slap me with the verbal 2x4 and call it a day. Does Michigan remind you at all of 08, 09 Alabama?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, they are definitely ground and pound. They definitely play to their defense. They don't spread it out. They're not an RPO team. They don't reinvent the wheel. Now, they'll do some different things offensively, but, yeah, they stylistically, they're a lot like that.
So, that just kind of gives you a barometer, Alabama fan. You've seen this movie before.
You better be ready. And Michigan has never won a playoff game. They're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder because of Cheater Boy.
This ain't TCU.
Yeah, this ain't Wofford.
But they lost to Wofford.
I know they did, but you're going to have to be ready. And then Travis Ryers already, had one of the posts of the day already. Yeah. Travis he has a very good sense of humor, and he just said, Alabama, Michigan, Saban about to do a sweep of the condos across the street from the practice field.
Well played. Well played. But no, I think Texas-Washington, for me, in terms of eyeballs, is actually the more entertaining circumstance. Because I think it's a contrast to two styles.
Yeah.
I think Sark has this blend of RPO, ground and pound, and Washington is just turn it loose and let it go.
I love watching Texas play offense, man. They are fun to watch. All that stuff. I know Oklahoma State's not very good.
Yeah.
But Sark is that's why he's my favorite OC of the Saban era of all time. He's just so hard to defend because he makes you defend the length and the width of the field. He does just enough trick plays to keep you honest. He is such a great rhythm play caller. He is a better OC than Lane. I don't even know why Lane Kiffin is even compared to Sarkisian, because I don't think it's even close.
And I honestly think if Harbaugh ends up going to either Chicago or Las Vegas, rumor has it both are very, very interested. I think Michigan might call this dude at Washington now.
Or, I mean, he's totally different stylistically, but I could see that.
Let's, Ray Dog, Boo Corrigan is currently talking to Reese Davis. Let's listen in.
Corrigan. So, Boo, we just saw the reaction from Florida State, undefeated, Power 5 champion. Yeah. Their conference has a winning record against the SEC overall, yet Alabama got the nod over them. And I know you don't go head-to-head, but you do go with the 6 teams and then top three teams ranked off the board. So you got Michigan, Washington, Texas off the board. So in some instance, it came down to Alabama and Florida State. Why did you choose Alabama?
Well, I think in looking at it, and again, that was a decision, was Alabama at 4. Florida State is a different team than they were through the first 11 weeks. Coach Norvell, their players, their fans, an incredible season. But as you look at who they are as a team right now, without Jordan Travis, without the offensive dynamic that he brings to it, they are a different team. And the committee voted Alabama 4 and Florida State 5.
So we're not going to get a whole lot of meat on the bone there with Boo Corrigan, so that's why I thought we'd just go back to your phone calls. Just at least wanted to give him an opportunity to express his opinion on why that. By the way, this is the first time the committee in 10 years, in a decade, on the last reveal has bumped up a team 4 spots. And that's exactly what happened with Alabama. Although I have been of the opinion, and so has Wes, and I think you have too, Drew, that both Texas and Alabama far undervalued.
Throughout the whole season.
7 and 8 is just anyway. Let's head back out to the phone lines. Appreciate you calling into the Bama Recap Show. Who's this? Good morning.
This LSU Lynch. How y'all?
We're good.
Good, Lynch.
Hey, what a great football Saturday yesterday. Just look here. Congrats, Alabama, but look here. As much as I have lost by just one game the last few weeks and everything and won the majority of them, son, look here, Drew. I took Washington, the Longhorn, the Florida Suck, the Wolverine Dan, and the Bama Brandon. There ain't nothing like being a winner on a sunny Sunday. You hear me?
I agree with that. I mean, there's nothing like winning a big game like that, man.
And then, look here, I come close to the Alabama-Georgia score. I took Alabama 24-23, and I come close to the 27-24. But look here, what a great weekend. I think they got it right. I thought the BCS used to get it right. A lot of people have a different opinion on that. But, son, just remarkable. I'm glad Alabama got in, and I'm glad Texas got in.
Yeah.
And everything. I'm really glad Texas deserves to be there because if you go back, it's going to be a very exciting game because, like you were saying, Drew, when Sweat scored that touchdown, when Big Boy scored the touchdown, oh my God.
So, by the way, just to let you know, the Rose Bowl is going to be the early game on January 1st. It is going to kick at 4 o'clock Central Time, and it will be Michigan-Alabama. The night game is the Sugar Bowl between Texas. That's the 3 seed. Texas is the 3 seed in the Sugar Bowl, taking on 2 seed Washington.
I like Texas in the game. I like Alabama. I like them playing a rematch in the national championship
for
game.
Texas.
I know, but
Washington, man.
I'm just gonna say though, take the over. Because I think both teams are going to score, but I do think Texas will make more stops and they'll figure out a way to get to Penix. But I just really like Texas' physicality, and I like Sark having a month to prepare. And I have a great amount of respect for DeBoer. I think he's done an amazing job at Washington, and I really give him credit for beating Oregon again, who I thought Oregon was the better team coming in, and they whacked them. So, but I just really think, and I congratulate our great listener, Husky Dan. You know, they earned their way in. They're in there. I think they are one of the top 4 teams. I think they're better than Michigan. But, again, I just think I like Texas in this game.
LSU Lynch, we are right up against – we got to take a break at least. You got anything else for us?
Hey, thank you for taking my phone call just real quick. My nephew, he was affiliated with Madison Academy. You're familiar with that.
Oh, yeah.
He's coming from Birmingham Southern to help them with their kicking because he's the kicker at Birmingham Southern.
Nice.
So he's making a special trip today to help them, and then he'll be there at their game Thursday.
I'll be there too. So
shout out to Ian Vachon.
That is an athlete right there in Ian Vachon. Thank you, LSU Lynch. Let's take our first and only time out of the hour. It's the Bama Recap Show presented by Freedom Marine Center.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
There's nothing like the freedom you feel when you're on the water in your own boat from Freedom Marine in Guntersville. And when it's time to get your boat ready for cold weather, Freedom Marine is your best choice to winterize your boat so it's ready to go next spring. If you've been thinking about a new boat, Freedom Marine has a great selection on sale now with some of the biggest discounts they've had in a decade. For new and used boats, outboard sales, financing, service and parts, it's Freedom Marine. Highway 431 in Guntersville and online at freedommarincenter.com.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up. There's nothing like the freedom you feel when you're on the water in your own boat from Freedom Marine in Guntersville. And when it's time to get your boat ready for cold weather, Freedom Marine is your best choice to winterize your boat so it's ready to go next spring. If you've been thinking about a new boat, Freedom Marine has a great selection on sale now with some of the biggest discounts they've had in a decade. For new and used boats, outboard sales, financing, service and parts, it's Freedom Marine. Highway 431 in Guntersville and online at freedommarincenter.com.
Back to the playoff. In case you're just tuning in, the reveal, Alabama will be taking on Michigan in the Rose Bowl on July the 1st. Kickoff time set for 4 o'clock. So that means pregame for the Crimson Tide Sports Network will be at 1 o'clock when we ring in the new year on January 1, 2024. It's the Bama Recap Show presented by Freedom Marine Center, along with Trudy Arman. Steve Moulton back here with you. We've got about 10 minutes left in the program. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number. Back out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline we go. Good morning. Appreciate you calling in. Who's this?
This is Bama Beano Jeff, guys.
How we doing?
What's up?
Hey, Roll Tide, Drew, and listen, Steve. Congratulations to the Bulldogs playing a great game. I think they should be in. I think they would whack Washington, but I know politically they can't do that. They would. There's SEC fatigue and all of that, but I really think they're better than Washington. I don't think Washington could move the ball on Georgia at all much. We have improved, and I think Tommy Reese has got some stuff he hadn't came out with yet and was holding back. Great coaching job by Saban once again. And I'll say this, maybe that other callers, boy, Geraldine Sylvania both played Madison Academy pretty good, huh?
Kings of the Mountain, but well-earned Kings of the Mountain are Madison Academy. Those were two slobber knockers.
Yeah, Jackson Reese.
But I'll just say this: y'all got the
and
best
Ken Sherry
call-in show in the country that I've heard of, and certainly that I've listened to. And I appreciate you guys putting all the hard work in that you do. You got a friend on San Mountain. You got a lot of friends on San Mountain. There's a lot of people listening to you guys. And I'm just proud to live in a country and thankful that we have such a good thing called college football. A lot of people would just like food, and we've got everything at our disposal of necessity and something like college football in you guys. And I love you guys. And good luck to Georgia. I respect you guys' team. And Drew, we done it again, son.
Hey, thank you, Bama Bino.
It wasn't easy by any stretch, but and again, I feel bad for Florida State, but I almost feel worse for Georgia because I think Georgia's one of the 4 best teams.
Had their opportunity yesterday.
They did have their opportunity. You have to say that.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these years where in the past we've had 2 Big Ten teams. We've had 2 SEC teams more than once. There was enough good teams this year where it didn't work out because Texas had a breakthrough year with Sark. And they had a couple of close calls in the regular season too, where I'll just say this: for example, if TCU had upset the Longhorns and Texas still won the Big 12 yesterday, Georgia would be in.
Yeah,
Georgia would be the 4. They would have got in over Florida State, in my opinion.
I think so too. But Mark Andrews writes in on YouTube, what are the 4 best teams? And we've kind of gone through this. I mean, if you look at it, the 4 best teams are Georgia, Alabama, Texas, and then pick a third. I guess I'd go Washington.
That's what I would do. I would seed them Alabama, Georgia, because Alabama beat Georgia.
Yeah.
Texas, no offense. I know Texas beat Alabama, but to me it trumps it because Alabama beat UGA. And then number 4 would be Washington.
Yeah.
That would be my top 4, honestly.
Let's head back out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning. You're on the Bama Recap Show. Who's this?
Good morning. It's LSU Lou.
What's up, Lou?
Man, so is it the best teams or who's more deserving? How does that go right now? I'm confused at this point.
It's the best teams. That's the way it should always be. This deserving thing is why we got the idiot in the White House.
Exactly. You're right about that also. So when it comes down to the best team, do you punish a team because they lost one player? Or do you punish a team because of the strength of schedule? Which one,
It's all part of the factor.
It's all part of it, Lou.
It really is.
But to me, the more important thing is the strength of the conference in your schedule.
Yeah.
Because to me,
strength of schedule matters.
Because Michael Alford, the president of Florida State's got this note out, whining and crying. And
he has to.
And I understand that. I understand because he's defending his school.
Yeah.
But you have to, and he's talking about it should have enhanced our resume that we could win an ACC title with a 3rd-string quarterback. I think that's a detriment. Right. If you can take a 3rd-string quarterback and beat the team you're playing in the finals, you have no business. If Alabama had Tyler Buckner out there against Georgia,
beating Georgia,
it's going to be a mauling. Okay, Georgia's winning that game big. Okay, it matters who you have available. And Florida State was still able to win that game. That was a terrible football game last night. It was hard to watch.
It was hard to watch, just like the Michigan game. That was hard to watch for me also.
I did not watch that
I did not watch that one, Lou.
I was trying to pick and choose which game I was going to watch because they both were terrible to me. But Michigan went undefeated. Florida State went undefeated.
Yeah.
As awful as it looked, I still would have rather Florida State than Washington because I watched the Washington-Ohio State game. I mean the Washington and Oregon game. And honestly, neither one of those guys looked like Heisman candidates to me. I was wondering who put them up for grabs.
Yeah, don't get me started on Heisman because that was the other half of my halftime and post-game talk with other voting members there at the SEC championship game on this is a difficult vote that needs to be turned in by tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern. So I've not fully made up my mind yet. So
the Heisman is a no-brainer for me at this point because, hell, Jaden Daniels, when look at his numbers, his performance, you take him away from my LSU.
But how you play in the big games matters to me, Lou.
Right.
But trust me, the body of work matters, but how you play in your biggest games matters to me.
Yeah, it really does, and the plays you make at the time you make them. I'll just bring up a high school analogy to this. Steve did the game on Friday night. Madison Academy got a huge break.
Yeah.
Where a guy fell down on 3rd and 1, it would have iced the game. They end up going for it on 4th down. They don't get it. Jake Podolak, who's had a great year, he goes 0 for 3 on the first 3 downs. It's 4th down. It's game.
Yeah.
And he throws a seed to continue, just like he did on 4th down the week before.
That was to MJ Drake.
This one was to Drake. The other one was to Jackson Reed. It's the clutch gene. Yeah. He came through, and they ended up winning the game. So when you think about Podolak, you think about Jackson Reed, you think about Ken Cherry and those high school situations, and even A.J. Rice. A.J. Rice had a huge 2-point conversion on a broken play.
Yeah,
it ended up being huge.
Yeah.
And then he had 18 tackles. All these kids stepped up and made plays, just like I was talking about those guys from Alabama that stepped up yesterday, Trez Marshall, Jam Miller, Roydell Williams, and Trey Amos. Those guys stepped up just like these Madison Academy kids did. Same, different level, same thing.
Lou, we are right up against it. Appreciate the phone call, sir. And let's try to squeeze in one more phone call. Good morning. You're on the Bama Recap Show. Who's this? Hello.
Hey, this is Pizza Larry.
What's up, Pizza Larry? You got
Pizza
about
Larry,
a minute.
what's up, man?
Hey, Drew. I tell you what, I've been listening to Drew since he came on the air, and I want to give Drew some props. I've seen the maturation of Drew as a broadcaster, and I've seen the hard work he puts in. I don't think anybody puts in more work on research and talking to people and breaking down things. And it's night and day from when you came on the air, Drew.
Well, I appreciate it. I was scared to death when I first got this job.
Pizza Larry, we are right up against it, and we're not done.
No, we're not.
We're not done. The Alabama Crimson Tide back to the playoffs yet again under head coach Nick Saban after downing the Georgia Bulldogs 27-24. We'll have coverage for you right here.
Let's get out of here. On to the Rose Bowl.
Well, I'm going to get out of here and go over to UAH as
big
Chargers
game.
Taking on West Alabama today. The men you'll be able to hear over the airwaves. The women will be over on Zone 2 because the Falcons are taking on the Jets. Who's going to be at the quarterback today? I'm kidding. I'm only kidding.
For the Falcons, they're hoping Jaden Daniels next year.
Oh, that'd be good. I still am holding out hope for Hendon Hooker.
Or trade for Mac Jones.
Just somebody. Roll Tide, everybody. Title number 30.
On to the playoffs.
Indeed.